just looking, Aaron Griffin. I should have had a shave. What's going on?
I hope that's not a comment on my beard, because I also should have had a shave, but
No,
I
but
haven't.
yours looks like a proper beard. Mine's just sort of stubble, you know.
No, mate, close up. Close up, this is an absolute mess. Also, you're wearing a hat. I've got to say, my bald patch is getting a bit. I think I might have burnt it. My bald patch. So I think I need to get a hat on today,
Well,
which I
you
should
know
have
I'm
done.
bald, and that's why I need a hat on to stop the light reflecting on my head.
Oh
But how
dear.
are you? You well, Aaron?
I am, yes, thank you. Yeah, work's going well. We're doing well, I think. Family life is up and down, but I think we're getting there. I think we're doing okay.
Good.
How are
What
you?
area? What? Sorry?
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I was just saying before we come on, my back's in pieces because decided to do some decking over the weekend. Well, I moved some containers, you know, those plastic garden containers. So I had too much rubbish in them. So I thought, oh, I'll clear them out. And then a few were broken. So I started to break them up. And then my decking underneath, I virtually fell through it. So I was like, yeah, I need to suddenly rip up all my decking. So yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm busy with work. Got a job on
Yeah.
four doors down from me, which is nice and convenient.
Nice. Okay, so the long commute, is there traffic or not?
Well, I'm still turning up late, and they're wondering what's going on.
You always
Uh,
do. The closer ones, I'm always latest for. I don't know
yeah,
why.
I'm
If I just
like
round the
you.
corner, I'm like, oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm like, you're right at 9 o'clock. She's like, yeah, that's fine. I'm like, that suits me. So yeah, I'm glad you're busy. What area do you work in? What areas
Do you mean in decorating or do you mean locally?
locally? What's your
So I'm,
region?
I'm an Essex boy, so I'm living in Essex at the moment, as you can probably tell by my spray tan. Can you see it?
Don't
No.
tell me you've got a spray
Um, I haven't got a spray tan, no.
tan.
It's fine. I did once, one of my clients once, oh man, was the most. I don't know whether this is going to be offensive or not. It's the most Essex person I think I've ever ever met in my life. They
Well,
answered the door, and their eyelashes that they had on were it was a
what
it was
tickled
a,
you?
it was a female. The eyelashes they had were so long that when she blinked, it looked like she was like waving at me. It was so weird. It was like, "Hi, how are you doing?" It was so weird. It was so funny. Anyway, I yeah. What are we talking about? Essex, yes. So I work in Essex. I'm in and around kind of Chelmsford area, so not too far away from you, I don't think.
Well, I'm Hertfordshire, so what are you, about an hour away, hour and a half?
An hour away. I grew up in St Albans, by the way. That's
Right. So that's
local. So, yeah,
yeah, worked well. I've been lucky, like where I work in Hemel, I don't get many jobs, but luckily got some wealthy towns around me. So
yeah. Fine.
St Albans and Harpenden and Burco. So
Got
never.
you.
My van's 20 years old next year, and it's only done 115,000 miles. So that shows you the close
Okay.
proximity which I've worked.
Are you going to do a birthday for your van? Are you going to commemorate it with cake and
Well,
things?
do you know what? I've never really looked after it, and I feel like I should give it a service, maybe.
Okay. All right. That's how you're going to celebrate 20 years
Yeah,
service.
that's right. No, I'm glad you're busy. That's really good. How long have
Yeah.
you been painting for, Aaron?
Long enough is what I say to clients when they say that. So how long have you been doing this? And I'm like, well, I always find decorators round up. We tend to round up, don't we? So I think I've been decorating about 4 years now, I think. Um, but it's close enough to 5, 10, 15, or 20 that it could be any of them. So it's like,
So
but I
that's why
tend to say
you
to people, I've been doing it long enough to know what I'm doing. So it's that's been a helpful line.
that's
Um,
why you still look young because you haven't been in it long compared
Yes, no,
to
no, I don't. All of the kind of joints in my body are all still mine. There's
yeah,
no metal in me at the moment, but I know that's coming.
yeah.
So my shoulders going. I've got to say, but
My
it is
son,
coming.
he's 19 and he's been doing a bit of a local firm. And yeah, he's coming in. He's like, "Oh, my back, Dad. I've got to roll my back out." And I'm like, "Come on, man." I'm like,
Do some decking, son,
"Yeah,
and then you will find out what back problems are.
yeah." It's like he worked with me a fair bit last year, actually. And I don't know if you saw in the group. I'm like, man down. You know, he's lying on the floor. So I've had to paint it, rolling out ceilings, but he's enjoying it, which is good. He's
Yeah,
working
yeah.
for a really nice local firm.
Oh, that's good.
Um, So I just, I didn't want him force him into it. I'm just like, well, just see if you like it or not, and
And
then
do
it's,
you think he's going to kind of continue? Do you think he's going into it?
I
Do you
reckon
reckon?
so. I reckon
Yeah.
so. But who knows? I sort of that's why I wanted him to work with someone else to see. Working with dad's easy, isn't it? He just rolls out of bed, lunch is made for him.
You're very kind.
He had it too easy. So what did you do beforehand, Aaron?
So I was a youth and children's worker at a church. So I
Okay.
did that for 10, 15 years, something like that. So I don't actually know how long it was. I started youth ministry after university down in Southampton at a church down there, and I just kind of worked there for 10 years. And then we moved up to Chelmsford, closer to family, which was nice. And then I was working for a church through COVID. So moved into the church, then 6 months later, COVID hit. And I learned everyone's names really quickly, because obviously on Zoom, everyone puts their name in there,
Yeah.
which is really helpful. So I got to know everyone's names really fast, which is good. But then I guess quite a complicated situation happened, not necessarily to do with the church, but just to do with us personally. So we'd down in Southampton, we'd adopted some children, which was a great idea, a great choice to do. It was very moving to be doing that situation. I just to be put in that situation. I mean, so there was a moment in that situation where we had all of our training and stuff, and everyone was happy, and we'd been approved by people, and all the important things had happened. When they handed you a piece of paper that said, "Here are the kids," and you're just like, "Oh man! Like these are the guys who potentially there's a list of kids that could become mine. Like
Yeah.
that's massive."
So
So
how does that so you're presented with a list?
yeah, so they can do it in different ways.
Yeah.
So, but for us, in our personal situation, what they did was they said, look, here's some children who are some kind of examples of uh, children who might be in care, and then they told us afterwards. They said, look, that some of those children were actually ones that you're waiting for, are waiting to be adopted, and we're just wondering whether you might kind of consider that. And I was like,
Yeah.
wow, okay. Big moment. But anyway, we did that, and then we couldn't find a place really, kind of a kind of forever home in Southampton, and so we moved up to Chelmsford and found a place here. COVID hit, and then due to problems within the family, I can't speak much about this at the moment, Gary. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
Partly because this is going out on the internet, and partly because this is probably going to be watched by my children, who will Google my name. Hello. So it's likely that's going to come up. So they'll probably watch this. So, but they know this already. But we had some pretty hard family time due to the needs of the kids who we had brought into our home. And so I realised that being able to do a full-time job just wasn't possible with
Yeah.
having the children that I had. So there was kind of suspensions and talking about expulsion from school and all that sort of stuff. So I was like, I need to be around. You need a dad. I need to work for myself. I've been a youth and children's worker in a church for the last 10, 15 years. So I need to do something. And I remember
Mm.
sitting in my boss's office when I was in the church. He was the main minister, and he said to me, he just said, look, what do you think you're going to do? And at that point, I had absolutely no idea. So I was like, well, I might just go into painting houses and decorating. I might just kind of give that a try, see if there's anyone who wants it, and kind of give it a go. And I was quite surprised that came out of my mouth,
Mm.
but then did it and gave it a go, and now here we are.
Had you done any painting before, or just bits and bobs around?
Only by Destroy It Yourself. I'd done some. Not professionally. I'd only done it on my own. We'd moved into it. We bought a house, and I'd kind of been decorating it, and realizing quite how much I enjoyed the end result, but didn't enjoy the process, as I think
Mm.
we all do. So yeah, and I wasn't very good at it at all. So I thought, well, let's give this a shot then and see what happens. Um,
Yeah. Well, I
so
mean, like,
yeah,
when I started, I left school, done office work for a number of years, and I just couldn't stand being cooped up in an office all day long. And I'd done bits over the years, sort of helping my dad out and stuff, but nothing
yeah.
really significant.
Yeah.
So I was like you, I just put an ad in a paper, and I've said it before, my first job, I rocked up in my XR2, you know, some carrier bags and stuff from B&Q, like, and that was it, you know. I think my first job was like lining a downstairs cloakroom, and you can imagine the job I made of it. It was horrendous, you know, going around toilets and stuff. I don't think I'd ever papered before, um,
Okay.
but managed to get paid somehow.
But you did
Yeah,
it.
just, yeah, 20 or
Yeah.
25 plus years later, you know.
So, Gary, I've put together a list of 10 things that I learned as a complete rookie.
Okay.
Right. So, I'll see if you agree with any of these. All right. So the first thing that I learned, and I learned this quite quickly, is as we all learn quite quickly, is don't paint a ceiling with your mouth open. So if your morning breath smells like AF1, then you've messed up. Number two was don't joke about having parties in clients' homes while they're out. So I learned that quite quick. I had a client once who said, I'm going to be back at about 3. And I said to her, and I still don't know to this day where this came from, I said, all right, I'll tell everyone to leave the party by 2:30 then. To which she kind of grimaced and then didn't have me back after that. So, um,
Well, that sounds like a sensitive client, in all honesty.
it makes me laugh though.
Yeah.
Number 3, and I learned this one quite quick as well. If you're going to do a poo in a client's home, then check that the flush works first. That's always important. I learned that quite quickly.
Do you
Also,
want me
go.
to, after each one, give something that comes to mind?
What? So, what is this? Do you want a story for that?
No, no, no. Like everyone you're saying is sort of something's coming to mind. So,
Did something come to mind specifically on that one, Gary? Did you
well,
unleash
one of
the
my
passion
mate,
at some
not
point
me,
in someone's
fortunately,
home?
one of my chippy mates, the customer had gone out, a job I've got him, and he's like, right, do a number 2. So he left like the door open and stuff. She come running in, obviously caught with his trousers down, so to speak. So yeah,
Okay, well, lesson
check the
learned.
flush, and also check the client's definitely long gone.
Long gone. I do it with the door open. Another thing that I learned, so number 4 was when a client asks you how it's going, try and say something that you're proud of or something that you've done well, rather than slagging your own work off. Because naturally, when they're like, "Oh, how's it going?" and I'm like, "Have you seen your skirtings?" Like I usually kind of get angry at previous trades or something like that, but don't. Just tell them something that you're happy about. That was really helpful. Number 5, always say yes to a client when they offer tea or coffee, even if, and I know this is a big sacrifice, particularly for me as a massive coffee snob, even if they go, "Oh, it's instant, I hope that's okay." Which, is filth in a cup. We understand that, don't we? Particularly, and this hurts most, is when they've had you in the house and everything's going okay, and they go, "Would you like a tea or coffee?" And I'd love a coffee, thank you. And they say, "It's instant, is that all right?" And they get the mug out and they put it right next to their coffee machine. And you're like,
Yeah,
you know that one. So
I've
yeah,
had
if they're
it a
going
few
to,
times.
anyway, I found that if you say yes to a client about tea or coffee, what they're actually saying is, "Can I help you?" Because they want to help out because you're in their home, you're decorating their home, and I find that they're much more open to talking to you if they've given you a hot drink. If you say no to that, it's likely they'll leave you alone for the rest of the day, is what I found.
Yeah, I've had an instant coffee whilst a client's made a lovely machine coffee right next, at the same time.
Nothing taking it.
And I'm like, what?
There's
Yeah.
so many decorators listening to this. Be like, yeah. I
Straight in
reckon
the
there's going to be a
straight in the
decorator listening
plant
to this
pot,
that will have turned that up so the client can hear, I think.
Yeah.
Your decorator at the moment would like a filter coffee, please, from your special machine. Thank you.
Yeah. Don't save all the
Um,
pods.
Number 6, and this was something that came from Brush Wizards actually. It was a little tip from you guys, which was really helpful. Someone put online, I don't know if they did it recently again, but get a camping washing machine. So there's like a £70 washing machine on Amazon that you can get.
Mm.
That's basically just like 2 drums that basically just spin, and you fill one up with water. You can chuck all your rollers and little rollers in there, and put some detergent in, and then it spins it up. And then after 2-3 minutes, you've got a clean roller. You put it in the other one, spin it dry, and it dries it off.
I didn't see
So
it.
no, it's amazing.
Oh.
That was on Brush Wizards. quite a number of years ago. But anyway,
Yeah.
I saw that, bought one, and I've got it plugged into my utility room, which is probably the most middle class thing I've said all day. And it works really well. So I don't tend to buy loads and loads of rollers. I'm just washing them, which is great.
Yeah.
That was really helpful. So that was a nice tip that I got from Brush Wizards. Number 7 was you will knock over a can of paint, so be prepared. I oh man, you've probably got another horror story like this, but I was working for a client on an external, and I had gone and bought 5 litres of Zinser All Coat satin, and I was very proud of myself because it costs a lot of money, and I actually strapped it in the seat next to me in the van because I was like, nothing's happening to you. I pulled up, got ready, all the stuff I was preparing, and I didn't realise this, but the sun had come out and was shining into the cab of the van. So this this can of paint had suddenly become a cannon, and I hadn't realised this because it was like it was properly pressured.
Yeah.
Now I realised that they had a CCTV camera that was watching me, and I don't know whether it was working or not, but I thought it was. So I thought, just in case, I'm going to put on a bit of a show because I'm a massive show off. So what I got the Zinser All Coat out, and instead of stirring it, I was like, I'm going to be a shaking machine. So I was shaking it, and I was getting my hips involved, and I was like, yeah. No one was watching me at this point, by the way. I was like, yeah, this is so good. And then I dropped it. And the lid, because it was pressured,
Yeah.
the can, it shot off like a kettle. And like 2.5 litres of Zinser All Coat. I don't know what the other 2.5 was doing. It was like stuck in the can, being like, whoa, no, not for me, thanks. But 2.5 litres just went all over their drive. It was a gravel driveway, but if I hadn't prepared for the fact that one day I'm going to knock over paint, I would have suffered.
You were lucky it was gravel. Oh my God,
Yes,
imagine
no,
it was
no,
block
exactly.
drive.
I did go and tell the client. I didn't tell them about the dancing because I was hoping they were going to find that out for themselves. But I did tell them, which
Well,
is good.
hopefully I'll see you on the internet one day
Dude, it's going to be this. Number 8 was don't spend all day in your head. Otherwise, by the middle of the afternoon, you'll be having an existential crisis. So headphones are an essential tool. Keep them charged. Listen to something decent. I tend to win arguments in my head all the time. I can argue like an absolute debater. It's amazing in my head. You put me face to face with someone and I'll lose the argument. But in my head, I'm amazing. But what I found was that in the morning, I'd go over an argument I've had, or if I've said something stupid, or if I'm regretting something, or something's happened, and then I'll be processing that all day. But I'll be doing it over and over again. So getting something in your head.
Understand. Yeah,
Helpful.
definitely. It's
Number
especially
9.
when you're working on your own, you know.
Yep. If you're working hard on a hot day and you're alone in the house, make sure the door is locked before you take your trousers off. I don't know if you've been there before, but I didn't keep a spare pair of shorts in the van. I was wearing trousers. It was very hot. I was working upstairs, so I thought it would be okay. The client was out, but a friend of a client came over and said hello.
You're in your Y fronts.
And number 10, and this is going to, I mean, I said I was working for churches, but this is going to give away kind of what I believe. So for the Christians in the group, remember that regardless of how your week ahead looks, God has got you, he loves you, and he's shown that by Jesus' death and resurrection. So you don't need to worry about Monday morning. You do not need to worry because God has got you. So those are the 10 things that I learned as a rookie, which I was been quite helpful.
I love them all. You certainly come across as quite eccentric, Aaron.
Thanks.
I mean,
I
I've
don't know how to take
noticed when you've done reviews in the past, many, many years ago.
Come on. Oh, no. I challenged myself to see if I could do a paint review that would make people laugh.
I need
And I think we
to
got a laugh, haven't we?
I need to dig them out because you reminded me of it, and I was like, oh my God, that's some years back now. You done a crazy
No, I think it
review.
involved paint. I think it was all. Was it? No, it was Bradite 1 can. I think I painted my face with it. I think it was just like if it can go on any surface, then why can't it go on skin? I think there was a point. I don't know. What I remember was that after I'd filmed that, I walked back down the garden with half a face of white Bradite 1 can, and my wife looking at me, being like, "What are you doing?" like, I don't know, Gary. I think laughing is just incredibly important. It's an important part of the day, isn't it? Just having a
Yeah,
laugh.
yeah, definitely.
It's the advantage of working with other people is that you can have a laugh. But when you're working on your own, having a laugh is really important. I remember once I was doing an external, so I was outside in someone's back garden. It was quite peaceful. It had rained that morning, so it was all kind of spring, and I was enjoying some sunshine. And a pigeon came and landed on the fence next to me, and it was looked quite surprised to see me there, as pigeons always do. It kind of landed and was like, "What are you?" And I ended up having a conversation with it, and it was at that point that I realised I've been on my own too long.
Do you know what I find, Aaron? Like
Go on.
over a number of years now, like always try and find new stuff to listen to, because radio stations, podcasts, and on this job I'm at now, I do struggle a little bit. I need some new material.
Mm,
I love like Egyptology and learning about ancient civilizations and all that kind of
brilliant.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I really try and find podcasts related to that sort of stuff, but sometimes not easy to find. I can't quench my thirst in that sense.
Can I suggest
Um,
something? Is that all right? Something that I
yeah,
saw the other day that I thought was really helpful. Um, Diary of a CEO, you know
yeah, I
him,
like him.
Stephen
Yeah.
Bartlett, you know him. Yeah, so he did. He got on a guy called Wes Huff,
Okay.
which is the strongest name in the world, isn't it? What's your name? Wes. Surname Huff. Um,
I have to look it up.
He's a Canadian. He's a Christian. He's a Christian apologist. That basically means he gives reasons for his faith, like in science, history, and all that sort of stuff. But the guy's a really decent historian, so he's done a lot of thinking through kind of historical stuff with the Bible. But it was really helpful. Like Stephen Bartlett was kind of asking him some really good questions, and he was giving some really good answers. It was just a really good listen. So if, there's a fair amount of history in that as well as kind of big question stuff. Um,
Yeah.
I thought it was really helpful.
So you're a Christian, obviously with your work in the past, you're, a strong Christian and, the beliefs you have and stuff. And how does it shape your life and help your life?
It shapes my life every day. It helps my life because I think that there is intention for my life, right? So there's as if God exists, and let's just suppose that He does for the moment. If God exists, then and He is how He is described in the Bible. So He loves me, and Jesus died for me, and my sins have been forgiven. Um, it means now I can live knowing that God is for me. Does that make sense?
Mm.
So it affects how I work. So I believe I'm accountable to Him. I know that He's watching. So, for example, not ripping people off, not trying to do a kind of substandard job, which is difficult. I understand on a Friday afternoon when there's 1,000 things that you've got to get done.
Yeah.
Um, it's difficult, but if God has got me and He loves me and He's for me, then I work for Him, and that's a joy. That's something that I can do. Um, I also it affects me because I know ultimately where I'm going. Um, I, I was struck the other day. You had I was listening to previous podcast episodes, and you had Gene on, didn't
Yeah.
you? I could listen to him all day. What a great character! He's such a good character. But he said one thing in that made me think. He said, "You're alive for a short period of time, but you're dead for quite a while." And I was like, "Well, that's what he think that says about kind of what he thinks in terms of life after death." But we all have thoughts about this. Like, but
Mm.
I feel like in the trades we can't talk about it.
Mm.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe you can. But for me, I think we can help people. I think we can help their mental health. I think we can help build friendships if we can take away the taboo of asking these kind of really big questions in life. Like, so for me, one of the ones I had as a teenager was, does God exist? If so, then what does that mean? If not, then why are people getting so excited about it? I remember being in an RE lesson, and I think in RE, I don't know if it's the same as you, but in our religious education in school, the implication was people who don't believe anything are normal, and here are groups of religions where we look at and we study and see what they believe, but they're kind of over there, but we're all here. So like, in an RE lesson once, there was one of the teachers that said, they said, go over to the left hand side of the room, if you think it's okay to have sex before marriage, and if you don't, then go over to the right hand side of the room. Now, not only is that probably a very inappropriate question for a load of teenagers in the room, it also just singled out the Christians. It was me and one other person, and the rest of the class over the other side of the room. And it's kind of that implication that we're all, you don't talk about it, and we can't. They're kind of slightly weird over there, but yeah. So you see what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think we can talk about it. Then it's a really helpful thing to do.
I think it's like before we come on live here, it's like, you sort of said, talk about the big questions, what happens after when you die and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know whether like we just brought up and to not sort of look at it, like almost to bury our head in the sand and just, I don't know. It does. It's not something that comes across my mind a great deal, to be honest
okay,
with
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah,
And perhaps it should, or I don't know. Maybe I want my particular life in the here and now to be meaningful. Um, I know that's for sure, and like what I'm doing in Brush Wizards and the communities I'm creating and the hubs and stuff and connecting people. It's more meaningful to me than anything else I do, seeing people connect and get work with each other, connecting for socials. I love doing that. So
yeah,
I want to have some sort of meaning. I don't quite know how it looks. Um, or maybe
yeah.
that's just what I'm doing now. I don't know.
No, no, no. I think it's brilliant, mate. I think the thing that I think helped me kind of work out what I believe was was in talking to quite young children,
Mm,
because you'll know from your kids that when they go through a stage of just asking the question why,
yeah.
and if you do that to yourself as an adult, actually you get to a point where you have to ask those big questions to kind of find out what you believe. But I think those big questions determine they give us the answer to those questions, give us meaning to step forward in terms of what we do in our business, how we interact with people,
Mm.
basically why we go into work in the day. Like if we're um, uh,
So
well, I
what's
think we need to define what the questions are really. I think if so, the questions that we're talking about is kind of the questions like who am I, as in what makes me me. So I mean, you're the stuff that you were doing before Brush Wizards and before while you were decorating the kind of cognitive hypnotherapy stuff that they will have talked about kind of who we are, what makes us up as people, all that sort of stuff. What is the right or wrong thing to do is another big question. What happens when we die? How do we get meaning in life? All of that sort of
let's
stuff.
just
Um,
skip what comes to my mind straight away. So
go on.
your decorator listening to us here. I wonder whether they sort of question what they're doing every day in the sense of I know they're going to do a job, they're painting the kitchen, painting the bedroom, whatever. But I feel people get despondent because they don't know why they're doing it or it's not a bigger picture. It's kind of like I felt I needed a bigger picture in the sense of um, I couldn't just, you know, paint a bedroom or be painting for the rest of my life and not have anything else going on in my life.
Yeah,
Because, you know, as much as I enjoy painting in itself wasn't enough for me. So I wonder whether how many people just go to work every week, every month, every year, kind of live for the weekend, the stuff outside of it, the family. I don't know. Do you know what I'm trying to say, Aaron? It's
yeah,
like
I
there's
do.
got to
Yeah,
be
absolutely.
some sort of meaning behind what you do, other than just paying your mortgage and bills.
Yeah, yeah, and then ultimately, why? This comes back to that question, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Why are we? Why do we get up to go to work every day? Why do we get the money that we can? Why do we do the quality of the work that we do? Um, those sort of why questions are really important. And I guess, as you said, I wonder whether we might be taught to not really think about the answers to that. I
Yeah.
think maybe. I mean, I've said to the reasons why I do it. I do it because I'm serving. I think Jesus is King, and I'm serving Him, and I'm trying to. I think there is life after death, and I think what we do now is can isn't completely devoid of meaning, that side of death as well. So I think there is life after death, and I think we can. It's important what we do now, I think. And so the reason why I get out of bed is because I know that God has got this work for me to do, and I'm going to do it for Him. And I know that I'm not doing it so that I can make Him happy. I'm not doing it so that I can earn kind of more the other side of life. I'm doing it because He has done something for me. I'm doing it as a thank you, not because I want something from Him. Okay, so I'm doing it because Jesus died for me and gave His life for me, and so I want to do something as a thank you. So that's the reason why I get out of bed in the morning and try and do a good job. I mean, have you thought much about why? I mean, you're a very nice guy. You do love helping other people, you know. But in terms of the reason for doing what you do, have you ever had to deal with that in terms of decorating? Like when you're trying to drag yourself out of bed and like, why am I doing this again? Is it just to kind of pay off a mortgage and that's the next goal and therefore I'm just going to think about that? Or have you ever had an existential crisis at 8 a.m. in the morning before decorating?
Well, yeah, multiple times.
Multiple times.
100%. You know, like, yeah, I mean, I always needed for, like, when I first got out of my office work and started painting, I was like, oh, that's amazing. Freedom,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
um, lovely sort of doing jobs, being creative, and just, it was great, you know, seeing different places and stuff. But I have had a bee in my bonnet for many, many years to do something different. I don't feel I was put on this planet just to paint bedrooms and hall stairs and landings until I'm 75 or whatever, how long I can keep
yeah,
going.
yeah,
So I, like I say now, I still paint, I still do, but I'm not full time, but I still do a significant amount because I've got expensive kids.
Do
But
they know
like,
you said that, by the way? I'm sure, have you told them? You guys
oh
are
yeah,
two.
yeah, oh,
Yeah, okay,
100%.
yeah,
They
fine.
know
They
they
do
are.
know it. Yeah, okay, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we had them all close together, and then you don't plan ahead and think, actually, once the first one turns 17, then the next one, cars. But anyway, you know, I wouldn't have it any other way. They're beautiful kids. But yeah, like it's something I have battled with as to why am I doing it, and I felt like I've needed to do something else. And like even with Brush Wizards, you know, like with, you know, we get sponsors, we run a membership, as you know, bits and bobs. The most fulfillment I get is connecting and talking to people and
Yeah,
seeing other people connect.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I don't know what that says about me or whether that's, and I still feel there's so much more I can do, you know?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it, that there's a Bible verse that talks about having eternity written on the hearts of man, and I think that what that's saying is that we're not fully comfortable just just doing the daily grind. I think we all want something more, don't we? That tells us something that I think is quite important. We tend to ignore it, but I think that says that if we're do you know C.S. Lewis? He was a theologian. He wrote the Narnia series.
Okay. Yep.
He's in Oxford. It's a huge brain. He's dead. He had a huge brain. He's now dead. But he wrote a lot of stuff. And one of the quotes that I'll never forget he said that we've become so obsessed with what we're doing that we have no idea. We haven't got our eyes focused on what's coming. So he said it's like a child who wants to make mud pies in a puddle when there is a promise of instead of going on a trip to the seaside. So we're so focused on what we've got now. This is really fun that actually there's something more coming, and that we could be thinking about. And I think for me as a Christian, that's something that I'm always looking forward. And I think with regards to meaning. Who was it that you had on the other day? That was because I listened to it the other day. There was a man who was talking about wellness, and he was talking about vibrations, increasing frequencies, and all that sort of stuff. Do you remember his name? Sorry, I forgot. If he's listening,
No.
I did listen to you. I'm sorry, I just didn't retain the name information in that.
Job, was it? Joff?
Yes, that was
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah,
Thank you. Yes,
yeah.
sorry, Joff. You can edit that bit out. Anyway, so Joff came on to your podcast, didn't he, Gary?
Yes, he did.
Whose name I remembered,
You were
and he
testing me, and I'm
said,
like my brains. Are,
he said about design. He said it's just not what I'm designed for. He said it's something that we've been. So he mentioned about himself and being designed to do something, and I'm like, I think if we have got our eyes focused on just what we were taught in school, so we don't believe in anything, and that's all okay. I think we end up slightly dissatisfied. I think we have been designed for more. I think
yeah,
there's more to just the daily life.
that's a good
Um,
description to how I feel. I feel like I have been designed for more, and I feel, at schools you're programmed to be a good boy or girl, do as you're told, and it's kind of like you take that into the work environment and never really, you're not allowed to question stuff. At school, if you question teachers, like say when you're a kid, you ask why all the time. You just program to memorize stuff, and it's kind of like, your conscious, your unconscious beliefs are formed. Well, when I've done cognitive hypnotherapy,
yeah,
between the ages of 0 to 7, your beliefs about yourself and your identity is kind of already formed. So like in those tender years, if you're programmed in the wrong way, you could go through your whole life and not really question stuff, and just kind of, before you know it, you're 50 like me, and you're like, shit, where's that time gone? What have I
yeah,
done?
yeah,
And I think
yeah.
that's why I've always done, even with decorating, different bits and bobs, side hustles, trying something different, just
Yeah. Yeah.
because something hasn't felt right, but I'm not here just to paint.
No, I know. I think that's really important, and I think if we ask people what they think, I wonder whether we might open up a whole torrent of people explaining what they think and feel, because we all have to deal with death, don't we? Like I was at a client's whose husband. I went over there to quote, and her husband was ill, and when I went to go and do the job, her husband had died, probably a couple of weeks before that. And she hadn't cancelled me. She just came over and just she was alone now, and I sat down with her, basically to have a chat before doing the work, and we were there for hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she said to me, I wish I didn't have his ashes in my home because my clocks since then have gone nuts. And now what do I do with that? So do I go? So you think after we die that actually what happens is we come back and we change the time on your clocks? What, for giggles? Are we all pranksters when we do? Like we don't go into that, do we? It's the thing is what she's actually saying is this hurts and I miss him. We all have to deal with it, don't we? We all have to deal with that, and at some point we've got to talk about it. And I wonder whether people are thinking this stuff through, particularly people who are going through the horrendous stages of grief. They're thinking this stuff through, but they can't talk about it because we were taught to. It's taboo. Don't talk about death, and don't talk about the controversial subjects, because otherwise people are going to think badly of you. But what if you've got a question about it? What if you want to say to someone, can people come back as ghosts after they die? What happens when we die? Well, I mean, I'm just talking about death and stuff like that, but I
What
think there's
what do
other
you
areas as well.
what do you believe, Aaron? Your faith. What do you believe happens when we die?
When we die, I think that. So I think the Bible makes it clear that for those people who have had their sins forgiven by Jesus, who follow Him, who want to be with Him, that God says okay, and I think the people who don't, God says okay. So I think there is life after death, but I don't think that God's going to be forcing anyone into His presence for eternity. And I think there is life after death, but I think there's a choice that we make now that affects that as to whether we follow Jesus or not. That's my belief as a Christian. Now, I haven't asked you what you believe, and I'm not going to make any assumptions. Just like anyone, I know the banter lounge for Brush Wizards is going to go nuts for this, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Oh
Who's
yeah.
this nut job? Gary, what are you doing?
I honestly, I want to get everybody on and talk about all different subjects. So
No,
it's
it's great. No, no, no,
yeah.
no, it's fine. But yeah, as I said, that's what I believe. But that affects what I do, who I am, and how I deal with that particular big question. There was another thing that came up on Brush Wizards, and this does. It was something that came up as someone I think was posting a joke. But what they'd done is they were decorating a bedroom and they'd moved the bed out the way, a £20 note on the floor. So they'd taken a picture of it and said, "What do I do?" Now you know what they're really asking, don't you? What they're really
Yeah.
asking is it morally okay for me to take this £20 note that actually isn't mine, but they don't know is there? Is what they're actually asking. And
Yeah.
it's funny, isn't it? Because some people said, take it, finders keepers, it's yours. They're not going to know it's gone. And some people said that's theft and that's wrong. But the question is, why? Why is that wrong? Who are you accountable to? Because ultimately, what we were taught was is that we have, as a species, and this is going to be another controversial subject for the Banter Lounge. You're welcome. Is we were evolved from through cross species evolution, and here we are now through millions of years, and this is what humanity is. And ultimately, humanity is going to die out. The heat death of the universe is going to happen, and no one's going to remember anything. So when you think about it with that point of view, it's 20 quid. So why
Mhm.
bother? But the problem is, if God does exist, and that was guided, and you're here for a purpose, and you're accountable to Him, then that taking that 20 quid is theft, and
But
it
where's
is
that
wrong.
guilty conscience come from?
That's a very good question, Gary. Where do you think the guilty conscience comes from? Was that something that you got in the training that you had? Did they talk about conscience? Was this something that you had to deal with, or was it not covered?
Well, I guess it could come from how you've been brought up, for sure. Rights and wrongs, what you've learned. But like you say, it's a weird one, isn't it?
Hey, look, you're thinking.
What do you reckon in terms of how powerful human beings are on this particular planet now? So I read about stuff, and apparently our brains, we're only using something like 5% of the full power of it. We could do so much more with it. What's your feelings behind it? So say, for example, like manifesting stuff. I'm not into the woo-woo stuff, but if you're going to buy a new car or new van or whatever, suddenly you see them everywhere. I believe if you really want something and it's on the forefront of your mind, you can create it. And
Okay.
whether that's
Yeah.
magic or not, I don't know. But what do you reckon?
That's a very good question, and it was something that I was left thinking about after it was mentioned a few podcasts ago,
Hmm.
because I was trying to work that through. So I think that uh, my personal belief is that while it seems that there is a link, and I do understand the kind of vibrations and bodily frequencies and the magnetism and manifesting. I have read about it. I do know what we're talking about. I just think it's taken some things that have been mentioned in science slightly too far. Is what I think. I think it's a mix of confirmation bias and um, I don't think that our minds can create good situations. We can be better people. I think we can. I think within the society that we're in, we can increase our wellness through doing certain things. I understand that, and not doing certain things. The language of vibrations manifesting, kind of the secret stuff, all that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
I think is language that has been attached to kind of our own uh, behaviors and our kind of where we're at in terms of our brain. My personal belief is that you don't manifest anything. I think things can happen and you can
Mhm.
think about things, but I don't think we hear a lot when people say I was manifesting this and it didn't happen. I think we
Mhm.
only find we only really hear about the times when it seems to. That's my personal belief. But you may think something different, and that's okay, mate. It's all
Yeah.
right. But so the thing is, what I want to do is I wanted to come on and just say it's okay to talk about stuff like this. It's okay to sit down at the dinner table and go, do you know some idiot online today, um, this guy that was talking to Gary, just so you're aware that I wasn't just calling you an idiot. This guy came online today, was just talking about all this sort of Christian nonsense and all this kind of. He didn't agree with manifesting, and that's something that I believe in. All this sort of stuff. I'm like, okay, we disagree. That's all right. It's okay to disagree. It doesn't mean I dislike you. Like that, and that's something that I think as a society we put together. If we disagree with someone, then we have to dislike them. I just think that's not true. If you may think something different, Gary. It doesn't mean I dislike you. You'll be relieved to hear.
But you know what? Just on manifestation,
Go on.
I think it was The Secret, the book which was out ages ago, and it was
Yeah,
like, I really did enjoy it, and it was like try something trivial, to manifest. So what came to mind was finding a £1 coin on the floor somewhere, and I kept, every day, it kept thinking about. I'd written it down, um, and I think about 2 weeks later, I'd gone to get a Costa coffee, and I looked down on the floor. It was a £1 coin, and it's like that's pretty weird because not often you find one, right?
yeah, yeah. No, I know. Yeah,
And then
yeah.
I sort of tried different other bits and bobs, and I don't, talking about it now, I don't know why I'm not doing it more. I was well into it at that time. I loved it.
Well, yeah.
Unfortunately,
Get it on the headphones again. Listen to it
but
again.
then, that brings us back to the £20 thing, doesn't it? A pound? Why is a pound different to £20? I was like, oh, I'll pick a pound up.
Yeah, go on, go on. Yeah, yeah. Do a
Yeah. But I guess out in public, you're not going to find someone that's lost a pound.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, no. You
Um,
should do what the guy that was on here before was talking about, and just ask for more.
yeah,
Just
I'm going
increase
to
it.
try it. It is weird. And also, when you're thinking about someone and they call you, that happens quite frequently. That's a bit weird.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I'm not denying it, mate. I'm not denying. I do think those sorts of things can and do happen. I just think the thinking around them is, I would say, problematic. But apart from that, that's my personal belief. It's not just because I'm a Christian. It's also because I'm also a skeptic. So my natural thing to do is to question something before I believe it.
Yeah.
So I would be saying, well, yeah, like automatically as you're talking about that, I would be saying, why 2 weeks? Why £1? Were you just looking out for it? Was it just that there's so many things that have gone on in my head at that point that I'm just naturally a skeptic, which is why I'm a Christian. Because I found that to be true. So
Yeah.
um,
Christianity, now this can probably be a completely stupid question,
no, go
has
ahead.
been around for how long?
Yeah, a great question. Jesus was a Jew, even though he was Jesus Christ. The people followed him were Christians. I mean, it started after Jesus' death and resurrection, so 2,000 years ago. So I think it's been around for that long, and there has been the story of the early church and how that happened is great history. If you want to read about it from a Bible's point of view, and you want to get this on your headphones, then listen to the book of Acts in the Bible. It's all about the early church. That is all about how it all started. But then there's history. There's a load of history on it, and then we are where we are today. So it's been, and it's now, pretty much global. So it's not particularly
Mm.
related to one culture. So it's not just kind of a Western religion. I was reading today about, I don't know if you saw this in the news, that there's been two pastors in China that have been arrested because of leading a church and things like this. Like there's so many Christians all around the globe.
Mm.
It's incredible. So it's something in this country which is apparently okay just to giggle at and have a laugh with, which is why I think the banter lounge is going to be going nuts. But I don't mind. Like it's not a problem. But the question of uh, why treat Christians like we do, and why treat kind of people from other faiths like we do, and if that's different, why? Like it's just again another why question.
Do you
Um,
feel humans, whether it's Christianity or whether it's humans from tens of thousands of years ago, have a need to believe in something to give them purpose? And the people that don't believe in any particular religion struggle more than those that do.
yeah, great question. Really good
Because
question.
years ago, like, you'd have your local village, you go to church, everyone's got the same belief as a community. But today's world, we've got the internet, we can find out stuff. We don't need to go to the local church to get information. Is it just a case that humans need some sort of belief, and that's what it's all about?
So I would answer that by saying that I think the center of a human being is their soul.
Mm,
So I think we're taught to think that because it can't be scientifically measured, therefore it doesn't exist. And
yeah.
I just don't think that's true. There's many things that can't be scientifically measured but do exist, like the fact that we're conscious beings talking to each other. So I think yes, I think the in that sense we have a soul, and I think there is a desire to ask those big questions. I think that's something that's been put in us. I think by God, but it's up to you what you think about that. Um, do we have a need, and therefore that's where it came from? I think no. So I don't think that. I think people did go to church in our country because we're a Christian country, and that was kind of what the culture did. But I don't think that the truth of Christianity, or the truth of the gospel, historical truth that we've got around the evidence for Jesus Christ and his kind of death and resurrection, I don't think that is about our need for belief. I think that's kind of what is the question is what is true. So
Mm,
it's not whether I believe it, it's whether what actually happened. So yeah, I think belief does matter, but I think there's again, it's the skeptical side of me, but I think there is evidence that we need to deal with and look at. I think there's a great thing on. I'll have to check whether it's still on there. Actually, I'm not sure, but Amazon Prime had an American kind of film adaptation of a book called The Case for Christ, where there was a lawyer whose wife became a Christian, and he set out to try to disprove Christianity. And he worked very hard at trying to disprove Christianity from a
mm,
legal perspective, and ended up becoming a Christian himself. So it was a really his name is Lee Strobel, by the way. So he's done a book called The Case for Christ, which I think is a great read. Again, get it on in your headphones, just to see what you think. You don't have to agree with it, but it's a great historical analysis of why people believe what they do
yeah.
with regards to Christianity. So yeah, I think there is a need for belief, but I don't think that belief causes all of the beliefs that we have, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That kind of yeah.
I've, I've got another question.
Yeah, go
I
on.
could go on forever. Stuff comes to mind and stuff I've listened to on podcasts and stuff.
Yeah, go on.
What I find fascinating with decorating and working everywhere in different villages is like how many churches are in the UK, right? There's absolutely tons. What I find incredible is that these churches were built hundreds and hundreds of years ago with a local village population of small numbers, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yet they built these incredible, massive buildings. Like, how? How did they build so many, and the size and scale of them, and yet many villages years ago were just small communities?
Yeah, I think back historically, it was a massive priority, wasn't it? I
Mm,
think you kind of think about what they did and how they managed it. There would have been a lot of determination, a lot of finance, a lot of people volunteering, to be able to get those places to where they were, to be able to allow the things that people wanted to do um, in terms of constructing them. I think it is incredible. We look at it and we think that was a massive priority, but it hasn't been in our age, has it? I don't think it's, that was a few hundred years ago, and you'd talking about church was a normal thing. Going to Sunday school and all that sort of stuff was just a normal thing. Whereas nowadays, because for many reasons. Many people just don't think it's a priority. Have you decorated a church? Have you been in and had to do decorating churches before?
No,
Okay.
I paused for a minute there because no, a friend of mine did one, but
Oh, okay.
just
Yeah.
incredible when I do go in one, incredible spaces.
Yeah, yeah. No, they are. It's quite special, particularly when you get a kind of the feeling that you get of kind of going into the bigger ones, the kind of big cathedrals and stuff. Is huge. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But I've got to say, when I say church, what I don't mean is that. What I don't mean is Stone Village Church that's cold and has got a collection on a Sunday so that they can stop the leak in the roof. It's not that sort of. That's not what I say when I say church. What I mean by church is a group of Christians who have gotten together as a church family.
Yeah.
And I think with decorating for me, because I got into decorating, and the people that I had to fall back on was I was learning how to decorate from brush wizards, which I'm very thankful for. And I also need to say thank you to you, particularly Gary, because there was a number of times that you just phoned me out the blue, didn't you? Because I was with you on that journey in terms of VIP and stuff. So
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was just so good to talk to another decorator. I can't tell you how good that was. So thank you for doing that. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Just kind of starting out decorating, that was an absolute lifeline. That was really good.
You're welcome.
I had a couple of other decorators who really helped me out. My uncle was in decorating at the time, and so was a guy called Phil down in Southampton. If you're watching this, Phil, thank you for getting me started. I owe you a beer. And I had the church. So I had my church family helping us out in terms of family and kind of moving us through how kind of people were saying, "Do you want to come decorate my house and kind of give it a go?" And I was like, "Well, okay." And I did some horrendous jobs, but I was starting out. And I think with a community around you, and for me that's the church family, but it might be something else for someone else. It really helped me out in terms of decorating. So I think when I say church, what I mean is church community. I don't necessarily mean Flint building that's been stuck together and withstanding bad weather for a long time.
Well, on that note, Aaron, we hit 1 hour almost, which is gone in a blink of an eye. Anything else you want to chat about before we go?
Well, as you say, I could do this for ages. I don't know. It's been nice having a chat with you. Thank you. So let me offer something. I think if people are working by themselves, they haven't got anyone to talk to. Drop me a message. That's fine. I don't care if my inbox fills up with people exploring kind of big questions in life. That'd be a great thing to have. So, if you want to get in contact with me, if you are thinking this stuff through, if you want to drop abuse, then I don't mind. But if you could just save it for the banter lounge, that'd be great. That's fine. Or do it in the comments section. I don't care.
But
But if you want to get in contact and just chat stuff through, then fine, do it. Get in
yeah,
contact. That's no problem. So.
that'd be great. And just with reference to like the banter lounge, which Aaron is referring to. So in the membership, we've got 2 WhatsApp groups. One's for like business and help, which is serious. But within that group, there was a few of the guys and girls who like a bit of banter, which I love as well. So we
Yeah.
separated it, and we've had a few new members join recently. And I said, look, we've got a banter lounge. It's
Join if you dare.
you might you might be blown away by it. And a couple have joined, and they're like, bloody hell, you weren't wrong, were you, Gary? But you know what?
It's not about it.
In terms of like, not talking about religion, about community and everything else, the county hubs I've created to help people connect was formed from like the VIP group, because I could see how people were connecting, helping each other out. And even in the banter lounge, they're brilliant people in there. It's just like if they're having a bad day, you know, it's banter to make them feel better. And it's about
Yeah, yeah.
community and helping people. And that's, what Brush Wizards is all about. So,
No, I think, yeah, as I was saying earlier on, I think if we laugh with each other, we
yeah,
build that community, don't we? That's that we laugh when we're safe. We laugh when we feel safe with other people.
exactly.
And I think in the banter lounge, you might find that there's actually some pretty decent friends that have been formed because they're mucking about with each other. If they can
100%.
make each other laugh, then I think you said in a previous podcast that they started sharing in there as well. People sharing some really kind of deep stuff
100%.
in the banter lounge as well. And I
Yeah.
wasn't surprised by that because I was thinking if they're
Yeah.
laughing with each other the whole time, then of course they're going to be friends. Of course they're going
Yeah.
to kind of get to know each other better, and laughing's really important.
Yeah. I've no doubt they're lifelong friends. And even one lady's got a full-time job now, but she's still in the VIP because she's made such good friends, and she wouldn't be
Yeah.
without it. So that says it all.
No, it's brilliant. It's really important.
Right, Aaron, I'm going to hit stop. I'll say a quick goodbye to you after I hit stop, but I really
All right.
appreciate you coming on. It's been a
No,
great
pleasure,
talk.
mate. Thank you.
Take care.